Hi Flosstube, I'm Misty Purcell. Welcome to my channel. I am the designer and fabric dyer of Luminous Fiber Arts, and welcome to you. If you've never been here before and this is your first time, thanks for checking me out. And if you have been here before, thanks for coming back to visit with me today. What am I doing here already? I was just here a week ago. I don't know, I seem to have more time. So I've been getting some things done and I thought, well, I'll check in because I know that I'm really appreciating all of the nice videos that people are putting out and I want to contribute as well. I've also been really enjoying your comments, knowing that you're all okay. So I really appreciate that you guys are checking in and letting me know that you're okay. Today is April 4th. It's a Saturday and it's sunny and nice and springy here in central Pennsylvania. We're on day who knows what of the lockdown, so I stay in my house or I go for a walk or I go to the grocery store, and that's the only going I do. Classes are going okay. If you're new here, I'm a professor, a Spanish professor at the university in town. The online classes are going okay, and I'm just gonna take it week by week. That's all you can do. So what have I been up to? Well, like I said, I've been watching some Flosstube, so I want to mention some Flosstubers that I've been watching. And one I wanted to mention, I don't think I mentioned her before, is Maria Kutzner. So I met Maria at Market and she's so sweet, and I've followed her for a long time on Instagram. She's a stitcher, she knits, she's done some quilting, and she has 4 videos out now. So I really enjoyed seeing what Maria's working on, and it was really, really wonderful to meet her at Market. I hope you'll check out her channel. I will link it below. Whom else have I watched? Robin, My Life's a Stitch. Robin, I think, has 2 videos now. And her first video was a kind of a, I think it was like a kit parade, or like things she'd kitted up that she wanted to start. And then her second video was projects that she's been working on, and I really enjoyed watching her video, and she has a very nice kind of way about her, very pleasant to listen to. So I hope you'll check her out. And then Melissa from Needle Love Studio just did a video as well, and it's her first one. She has kind of a variety of interests in her projects. Like, I feel like she had a lot of different styles of projects that she enjoys doing, and she was just very interesting to listen to as well. But I think, I don't know what she would say, but I would guess based on what she shared that hands-on design might be her favorite projects to work on. So please check them out. I will link them below the video. Other than watching Flosstube and trying to make sure I'm commenting on other people's videos and also commenting on your comments on my videos, just been doing a lot of stitching, working on some designs. I've got a new series in progress, and I'm trying to design the whole thing before I release any of it this time. So, yeah, just kind of working my way through that. I'm really excited about the series, and so it's hard because I'd really like to just start releasing things like now, but I think it would probably be better if I at least get the series a little bit farther along or completely designed before I release anything. Maybe it won't be better, I don't know, but I'm experimenting with that because the bird series that I've been doing, you know, I didn't intend for that to be a series, it just kind of happened. And so each time I release a bird, you know, it's like, okay, well, I'm designing this new design and it has to fit with this style. And it's all been fine, but it seems like it would be better if I had it all designed before I released any of them. I don't know if it really will be. I'm gonna find out. So I'm experimenting with designing the whole series and then starting to release them. So one of the first designs is pretty much done. I'm just kind of, you know, overthinking a couple elements of the design, and then I'm working on some others that they're kind of like halfway done. I've got several that are in kind of various stages of progress, so it's an interesting process. So in addition, I've been working on my own model stitching. I've been stitching other people's designs. I've been on Instagram a lot, looking at what people are making, feeling inspired. And I think that's good. You know, I think this is a time where I actually needed to slow down with my life a little bit. And so I am slowing down. Okay, so let's talk about what I've been working on. Okay, I've got 2 whips to show you. And the benefit of having a lot of kind of video calls that you have to do for work, or just video calls in general, because I've also been video chatting with friends, is that I stitch and I fill in and I make progress, which is pretty awesome. So I worked on Where Liberty Dwells by Brenda Gervais, and I made some decent progress on this. So, yeah, I've got the star to finish up. I've got Uncle Sam to work on, her dress, and then the lettering at the bottom and some stars. Doesn't seem like it'll take that long for me to finish this up. I got her apron done, some of her dress. I don't remember if Uncle Sam was done last time I talked to her or not, because it's only been a week. It's so strange. What else do I want to say about this? I've got a video call tomorrow with friends. That's probably what I'll work on. Oh, I should say this is a 40 count fabric dyed by me. I am working on this color. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes, but it's a new color I'm developing. So it doesn't have a name yet. So I'm enjoying that. I did change I'm using just one red. It calls for 2 different reds. And I'm just using one. I changed it to Cherry Cobbler by Classic Colorworks. So it's still kind of an orangey red, but it's less orangey red than the colors that were called for. And I'm finding that in general with my patriotic pieces, I'm liking more of a bit more of a blue red. Shall I show you? This is my needle minder. This is from Mad for Minders, and my project bag. This was made for me by Becky. Socks for Mom. So sweet. I do like the peanuts. Okay, so that's one whip. And then whip number 2 is looking really cool. Well, okay, they're all looking really cool, but I feel like this one's really coming along. So, Stitching Away on Vintage Birds by Jeanette Douglas. And I'd just like to point out again, as I've mentioned in a previous video, that I think she's a genius. This is genius. Seriously. Okay, so let's talk about Vintage Birds. I made some nice progress yesterday and this morning. Isn't that so good? Oops. Bang, my elbow. So, I started in on this flower, and I decided to change the blue that was the inside of the flower because the called for was Cadet by Weeks, and it's a very green blue. And I think because I didn't fill in all the eyelets here, I think my peacock looks more green than the model. And so to me, it just felt like there was too much green blue happening over here. And also, and not that that means anything, but the model photo looks more, if you look at this flower, it just looks more blue. And I kind of was attached to that idea of a more blue flower. So I looked through my selection of flosses and I settled on, I think this was a new color last year from Weeks at Glacial, is it Glacial Melt? Hard to say. I think it was Glacial Melt. I think that's very pretty. I think it will work. It's a little bit bright, but I think far away it works. Up close I wasn't sure, but I think far away it's working pretty well. If I get farther along and I'm like, no, then I can change it, but I think it's pretty good. I really, really love those two shades of blue together in the flower. Oh my gosh, I feel like that should be a patriotic piece with a white and some kind of a nice red. Wheels are turning. So I am so glad, you know, that had been sitting in my stash for a while, kitted up for like a couple of years. And I am so glad I started it because I have been enjoying that piece like beyond what I even expected that I would. So I really, really love it and I recommend it. And that is in my Helen D Halloween bag because it's Halloween all the time in my mind. Not that I'm quite feeling the Halloween stitching that much yet, but it's starting to sound like it could be appealing. So those are my whips. I had 2 finishes. Yes. Okay. Who knew? I finished one thing one day, I finished the other thing the next day. Again, thanks to video calls, stuff got done. So I showed this last week. This is Spring Hair Etching by Heart and Hand. This was from the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher Spring 2020 issue. Really recommend that magazine. You can get the digital subscription for about $25 or the print I think is around $50 or $40. I have the digital. I would get the print. But I have like so many weaving magazines right now. From back when I was weaving all the time. I have quite a selection of them and I don't want to get rid of them, but I don't want any more physical magazines right now. So I'm just trying to not accrue, but if I didn't have all those magazines, I would get the physical copy of the magazine. So this is super sweet. I changed both of the colors, hickory sticks and something pink. Sorry. I don't remember, but I showed it last week, so you can always check last week's video if you need that information. And last week I did know because I had it. So I love how this turned out. I think I would finish this into a pillow, although an ornament would be good too, but I think a pillow. And I'm just wondering if I can dye a pink ribbon that's that shade of pink. I recently did a pink and I think it was a bit darker. Anyway, I'm mulling. I'll look in my stash of trims and see what I have. Super, super sweet, fast, fun. Recommend this one. And then I also finished lesson 4. Okay, sampler lesson 4 from Plum Street. This was given to me by a friend and it came with the flosses and the chenille trim. I have yet to use chenille to finish with, but I'm going to try it because I've been wanting to try it, and so why not, right? I mean, why not? So I will. This then is stitched, oh, I didn't say, sorry. Let's go back one second. This is 40 count. Vintage Birds is also 40 count. This is a new color. Vintage Birds is another new color. I'm working on both the new colors. Again, I'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, Macchiato, 40 count, another one of my fabrics. That one I'm not testing, it's done. I love this. I love those chubby sheep. I love the colors in this design. I did not bother to put the words across the bottom. I thought the top said it all for me. I did change the pumpkin, the inside color, because it just felt, you know, looking at the picture, and this could be the, you know, just the picture, or it could be a dye lot thing. To me, those pumpkins, the orange just looks a little bit different than the darker orange, but fairly similar. And when I stitched mine, you know, I've got this colonial copper, which is very yellow, and it just bugged me a little bit. So, I don't know if the dye lot changed or if it's just the picture, but I wanted something a little bit more orange and a little bit less yellow. So I looked at what I had, and the thing that I thought looked best was Weeks Dye Works Carrot. So that's what I used on the inside of the pumpkins. This is just such a sweet design. I love it. I'm so glad I was gifted this. I don't know if I would have noticed it otherwise, but man, I love it. So I think I'm up to finishing this pretty soon into a pillow. That might happen before the bunny, actually, because I don't know about finding a trim for this. Okay. I don't know what you're going to think about what I'm about to say, but I'm thinking about doing Mania. I don't know. What do you think about that? Am I crazy? So here's my thoughts. I'm not sure I would wait till May to do Mania. I'm not sure if I would have any rules, except that I would just kit some stuff up and start it when I felt like. And if I get started on something and I'm like, I just want to do this, then I would just keep doing this. I don't want to make rules about it too much because I will just change my mind. I know myself now. And what I decide I want to do now, in a month, I might be like, meh, I feel like doing this other thing instead. I'm distractible. Something else flashy comes along and bam, my attention is elsewhere. So I'm starting to kit some things up that I might start this month, or I might wait till May. I feel like a lot of us could use Mania right now because we're going through a tough time and Mania is really exciting. So I endorse anyone who wants to start now. I think you should feel free if you have the time, or if you need to pick me up and you don't have the time, just find a way, right? So I'm starting to think about it. I'm starting to kit some things up. I'm not going to commit to anything yet. I'm just going to see what happens. But I'm thinking about Mania. It could be April-Maynia. It could be April to Mania. I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe I'll just go crazy and I'll start something every week. I mean, I might. I don't know. But I'm just putting that out there. I still haven't decided on my birthday start. Today I looked at Mercedes Ospina, which is one of the ones I'm thinking about. I'll show it to you in case you haven't seen it. If you've been watching for a while, you'll have seen it, but otherwise not. So I have to admit, I didn't sleep well last night, and then I was like looking at Mercedes today, and I was just like, I don't know. I mean, not that this is hard, really, but I was like, is that like a running stitch under the letters? And do I have to think? And not like a running stitch is hard either, but I'm just like, my ability to think right now is just shot. I think to do my job, you know, to deal with all the exam stuff that I'm doing, to help my students, to do my designing, and then my brain is just kind of done right now. Summer, I think I can think again, but right now it's tough. And I'm not a huge alphabet person, but God, I love this. I mean, okay, I can do one alphabet, but look at how many there are. Come on, Mercedes. So I don't know. I'm mulling. I've got more than enough floss to make this happen. Matches my shirt. I don't know. I'll let you know. I need to feel, right now, I'm not quite feeling excited about it. But then I think that's just how I am right now. Because I'm not sure I'm feeling super excited about any particular thing. Like, there's nothing that I want to drop everything for at the moment and do. And that's what I usually want my birthday start to be. But like I said, there's like just not anything like that. Except for maybe actually one of my own designs. But it's part of that series. I don't know what I'm doing. Should I just start that? The agony. I love it. Okay, so that's what I'm thinking about. I'm still thinking I don't know what I'm doing for my birthday, but as soon as I know, I will let you know in case you want to join me. But don't feel obligated to join me, okay? So about fabric dyeing, I keep mentioning these, you know, colors I'm working on. So that's coming along. I was getting discouraged because, so when I mentioned this a little bit before, but when I dye fabric, I dye usually like a fat quarter of linen. And then when I get what I want, I start adjusting the recipe. And so I'll double the size of the fabric and I'll do like a fat half, and I'll double the recipe. And sometimes it's really that simple. Sometimes you just double the recipe because you doubled the fabric and it all works out. And sometimes it doesn't. Like maybe half of the time, then there's more tweaking that has to be done. And then I'll dye, once I get the half yard done, I dye the yard. And then there may be more tweaking involved. And, you know, I don't know how other people do it, but that's just how I'm doing it. I like to know what my recipe is for different sizes because sometimes I actually only want a fat quarter, or I need, you know, there's just times where I actually do need smaller amounts. And it's just easier to test on a smaller piece of fabric, I think. So anyway, I was testing the fabric and scaling it up, and then it wasn't coming out right. And I was like, ah. And I was feeling so discouraged. Sometimes it just takes a long time to get it right. But then last weekend, I finally got it to like the half yard point on the linen. And I think the Ada half yard is pretty good. I might need to make it a little darker in this one color. So we're getting there. The Lugana, I think, is as dark as it's going to get. Lugana does not like to get very dark for me, and it's probably going to be as good as it gets, but it looks, you know, it looks good. It just won't look exactly the same as the linen and the Ada. So the colors are coming along. I don't think I'll release them both at the same time. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of photography and describing things and et cetera, et cetera. So I'll probably do the lighter color first, which is kind of a, it's not going to be exactly like this. This is a little bit peachier than what it's going to be. It's going to be it'll be darker for one than this looks like. And it'll be a little bit more of a golden sandy color, a little bit less peachy than that. So it's coming along. I don't know exactly when it'll be happening. I need some more time to test dye, but I'm also trying to, there were requests along the way when I was getting ready for market of colors, and so I'm trying to add those colors into my shop every so often. So I'm trying to catch up on some of those things as well as test. So it won't be that much longer before one of the colors comes out, but just letting you know that, you know, it's not quite ready. So that's about dyeing fabric. So I had someone contact me about a color. I thought I'd talk a little bit about using overdyed flosses. So someone was stitching a Robin's Discovery, and her barn gray, which is the color that the rabbit is stitched on, was much more blue, I would say. Based on the photo that she sent me, it was kind of more of a blue gray. And the barn gray that I have is a brownish gray. You know, the reality of dyeing things is that there can be a lot of variation. And sometimes it's surprising how much variation there can be. You know, as a designer, it's a tough call. Like you don't want people to be disappointed. And do you then not use overdyed flosses? Even DMC though, like if you have an old enough stash of DMC or you have enough of a color, there's some variation there. Sometimes, usually it's not very noticeable, but I do have a few colors in my stash because I've been stitching on and off for a long time. There's colors in my stash that to me are noticeably enough different that I would maybe not, you know, I'd pick one over the other because I like that shade better. It doesn't happen that often, but even with DMC, there is some variation. But obviously there can be more variation with the overdyed flosses that we get. To me, it's worth it to use them because I think they're beautiful. And I think we all love overdyed flosses. They give a nice depth and interest to the patterns. And that's not a, you know, criticism of DMC at all. I love DMC too. But I just love what overdyed flosses do for designs and the interest that they add. So for me, it's worth using them and just knowing that sometimes, you know, that when I'm stitching other people's designs, it's not going to look exactly the same, and maybe I have to adjust, or knowing that for you guys, when I'm designing something, there may be times when it doesn't look like my model photo or my actual model, and, you know, you may need to adjust. So I have like a full set of weeks. At this point, I've managed to have a full set of weeks, Classic Colorworks, Gentle Art, and DMC. And so, you know, if your color is off, I can try to help you see if there's something that looks similar. Sometimes there isn't. It's just part of why I like using them. I mean, part of the reason I like using the overdyed flosses is sometimes there's like a really good color that you can get with them that you can't get in DMC. Sometimes finding, you know, all of my patterns have an alternative DMC option. Sometimes there is no real alternative. You know, sometimes like there's just no equivalent to it in DMC because there's so many colors out there, which is awesome. But anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts about overdyed flosses. I think they're very much worth using. I love them. I'm very thankful to the people who dye those colors for us, and sometimes there will be variations, and you know, just try to work around it. Either it still works for you, maybe depending on the color, or it doesn't work for you, and you know, can find something that works better. So okay, I'm gonna be on Fiber Talk on Sunday. I mentioned it last week. Gary says it's this Sunday. So hopefully I didn't sound crazy when I made the recording. I don't know, but you can enjoy it if you'd like. It'll be up on Sunday. It was an interesting conversation about designing and fabric dyeing and color. Yeah, it was fun talking to Gary. I enjoyed it. Okay, so I haven't done a from the archives in a while. I thought I would. And I don't think I've talked about this, but I just was like, opened up my drawer and grabbed something. All right, let's talk about something yarny. Then we'll go back to talking about stitching. So if you don't know, I'm a multi-crafter. Mostly I do stitching these days, but I crochet and I knit and I used to weave and I quilt and sew. I do a lot of things. This is a shawl. It's kind of a triangular shaped shawl that I made back in 2014, it turns out. I looked it up on Ravelry. This is Tunisian crochet. If you're not familiar with Tunisian crochet, it's kind of a mix of knitting and crochet. You have a hook that's long, or sometimes it will have a cable and a stopper on the end. And you know, with normal crochet, you're going into one stitch and then picking up the yarn and making a stitch. And with knitting, you normally have all of your yarn on a needle and then you're knitting into one stitch and then making a stitch. So with Tunisian crochet, you have all your project kind of here like you would normally for crochet, and then you go into the loop and you're kind of picking loops up and going across what's called a forward pass, and then you're keeping all these loops, excuse me, on your hook. Caffeinating. Hey, look. Anyway, so you do a forward pass, you're picking up all these loops, and then you do I think it was called a return pass, and then you're like hooking back off and getting the loops back off your hook. So it looks actually a little bit more like knitting too. And so that's what Tunisian crochet is, as opposed to regular crochet. Filet crochet is kind of like the doilies that you see, but where they make pictures. They're like little, they kind of look like little squares, kind of like cross stitch basically, but it's crocheted into some kind of a picture. I'll insert a picture here so you know what I'm talking about. I love filet crochet, and I've done some. I think it's really cool. So that's what this is. You know, it's basically like a grid. And on the end, hey, there's a hair. On the end, there are beads. This was a really, really cool project. So the filet crochet has filled in grid and then open grid, and that's how you make a picture in the filet crochet. So that's basically what's going on here. This design is called Aero, A-E-R-O. Here, I'll wear it for you. And it was designed by Vashti Bracha, and this is fingering weight. It's Madeline Tosh in the colorway. It's Tosh Merino Light in the colorway Baltic. So I crocheted this for a class that I was going to teach at my local yarn shop. And I can't remember if anyone actually signed up for the class, but I crocheted this for the class. I think someone did. Anyway, blocking does a lot for this. You know, it's really, really, really pretty, but you do need to block it to get the grid to look right. So that was a really cool project. I don't remember the size hook I used. It would have probably been what was called for. And I'll link it below just in case you're interested. You know, I don't remember it being super complicated. Tunisian crochet, if you've already done crochet, Tunisian crochet is not hard. You could pick it up really easily. And I like it. It gives an interesting texture. It is hard on your hands to have like a big project, and it can get kind of heavy. So something like this that's fingering weight is a good option. But yeah, it's very cool. Okay, what else do I want to show you? Oh, let me show you, going back to cross stitch then, 2 possible plans for whatever the heck I'm doing, which may or may not be Mania. One thing I want to do, I've had this in my stash for a long time. Probably I bought this after seeing like Vanna show it at some point way back in the day. She did a really nice finish of it. This is a lot bigger than you'd think. This is on 28 count. This is like a 7 1/4 inch square. Now I want ornament size. I'm thinking I'm gonna stitch this over 1. I've had this kitted up for forever. And as I said, new color. It's a little bit darker than this, but it does dot fairly light. This is Linda, 27 count Linda, which I do a little bit of. So I'm gonna stitch it over 1 on the Linda. So that's one candidate for whatever the heck I'm doing that I don't know what I'm calling it. April-Maynia something. When will I start that? I don't know. I don't know. Bear with me. And then I've been really feeling this piece, which was a market release this year. This is stitched over 1. I use the same fabric. I think it's a pretty good match. Again, this is just not showing up as dark as I would like it. So I decided that with it, not that you can't see variegation, because you really can, but since it's over 1, I think it's a little bit harder to see the overdyed flosses. And I decided to just pull DMC. First I looked at the picture and pulled DMC. And then I was like, I want to look at what she actually used. So I did. I pulled those same flosses. I looked at the picture I took at market of this. And I don't know what is going on with that house. It says it's toffee. My toffee from Gentle Art is like super orange. But hers does not look orange at all. And even in the photo I took, so it's not like an optical illusion. Like it really didn't seem orange. So this is one of those cases where, you know, maybe she had a not so orange skein and I have a more orange skein of toffee. I decided to go with something that kind of looks like toffee, but isn't so orange. I don't know if what I pulled is going to work, but we're going to try it. 781. I pulled colors I liked, so they don't actually match what Brenda recommended. Hers are more orange, and as I said, I'm not super into orangish reds for patriotics, so I picked some bluer reds, and my greens are slightly bluer, I would say, just slightly bluer than what she would use. Anyway, I'm gonna start this. Hopefully my choices are good. I will find out. I think this will probably be the next thing I start. So another over 1 project. So I will have 2 over 1 projects going soon. This is, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is gonna be the next thing I start. I think I'm gonna bring back into rotation. Oops. The Old Crow Sampler by Heart and Hand. I had stopped on this because I wasn't sure if I wanted to make the pumpkin and vine a color or if I want to make them black, and now I'm just leaning towards going with the black. This is stitched on 46 count Opulence, which is one of my colors. And I am using Weeks Dye Works Peacoat, which is a really, really pretty, like, blackish blue, bluish black, bluish black. Slightly hints of gray, I would say, in there too. And another Helen bag. Show you my needle minder, which was a gift. So I think that's going to come back into the rotation. What's next on the list to talk about? Okay, so in my shop, and then a giveaway. So in my shop, I've gotten in some Weeks fabric, Zweigart base. This is cappuccino. I also got in some Confederate gray. I only have 36 count. So pretty. This color is awesome. And I put in some solos of my fabric, so it's mostly color experiments that I've been doing in the process of creating these new colors. Sometimes they're a little bit darker than I wanted, sometimes they're a little bit lighter than I wanted. It's mostly linen, since that's what I've been experimenting with the most, but there's some pieces in my shop of the tests, so they're solos, meaning that they're one of a kind. I might release a color similar to them at some point, but I might not. And a few other things in my shop. I got some of Brenda Gervais, her older designs back in stock. So I had to get for myself and possibly for you, the Summer Schoolhouse series. I'm selling them as, whoops, the set, so that you can just get all of them at once. And then you know what the shipping is, it's all one thing. So this is stitched over one, so pretty. So that's in my shop along with various other charts by Brenda. And then this is so pretty too. Quaker Welcome by Lila's Studio. I love that pink. So a few other market releases have come in, or just other charts have come in, so they're in my shop. Thank you so much for all of you that have placed orders. I really, really appreciate it. And I'd like to lastly do a little giveaway to, you know, cheer people up a little bit. So today I will pass the stash, and I'll be passing lesson 4, sampler lesson 4 along, and another one I had recently finished, Drawn Thread Welcome Winner. So you can enter for both. You'll only be eligible to win one, but you can enter for both. You need to mention winter or fall, okay, in your, or both in your comment. For now, usually I am happy to ship anywhere in the world, but for right now, I want to keep this to just US because I'm trying not to go into the post office. Like, I'm trying to limit my exposure, and I don't have a way at this time to prepay a label for international shipping. I mean, I can do it through Etsy when someone purchases, but when I try to do it through PayPal or even through the USPS.com, I can't. So because of that, for the time being, this is just for US residents only, or for shipping within the US. I apologize. Normally, like I said, normally I'm happy to, but for right now, I need to do that. So the giveaway is going to close at the end of the day on April 10th, and you need to be 18 or older to be eligible. And the question that I would like you to answer: what is something that you're doing to take care of yourself right now? So please let me know in the comments and mention fall or winter or both. I am taking walks. Sometimes I'm taking baths, talking to people through video chat or on the phone, checking in, making sure people are okay, watching Flosstube and doing stitching. Yeah, and that's been helpful. And just remembering to be grateful for things, that helps too. But I would like to know what you're doing. You know, how are you taking care of yourself? I think it's really important to do something nice for yourself to make sure that you're doing okay. This is a tough time. So let me know. I think odds are good I'll be back next week since I seem to be plugging right along on things. So I'll probably see you in about a week. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that you're well. I hope that you stay well. I will see you soon. Take care.